Hi my lovies and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about my Morphe eyeshadow palettes, my opinion on them, the truth about them, what I think about them, my opinions, and just kind of discussing Morphe palettes, I guess. So unless you've been living under a rock, then you know what Morphe is, you know the eyeshadow palettes. I mean, everybody and their mother talks about Morphe palettes. They were one of the first kind of affordable, good quality eyeshadow palettes that I ever got to use. They were the first exciting brand that I found on YouTube. YouTube made Morphe what it is, which I think is kind of cool because YouTubers creating hype around brands was not really a massive thing back then. Morphe used to be a black label company. I now think they actually formulate their own eyeshadows. Like I said, people have kind of issues with black labeling. It doesn't bother me at all. If the eyeshadows are good, I don't really mind. I don't have a Morphe affiliate code. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I'm on their Pure list, which doesn't really do a whole lot. You might get a palette maybe once every 2-3 months, whatever, which is super exciting, and I love getting Pure and I'm always so appreciative of it. Now, I'm not going to discuss every single one of these eyeshadow palettes because that would just be here all day, but these are all my Morphe eyeshadow palette. So I have quite a lot of them. Some of them I haven't even opened yet. I have really fun ones like the 35S palette, which is actually well used because I used to do a lot of Halloween tutorials with this. This is when Morphe had a mirror in it. They don't do that anymore. I have my Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, which is absolutely manky, which looks like that. And I'm going to discuss that one because it's kind of like a big one. This wasn't even open. This is the 35O-M palette. It's just the 35O palette in a matte form. The 35T palette, that was quite a popular one when it first came out. I really liked that one. I've got the new Morphe 3502 palette, which I definitely want to discuss with you guys. 35O palette, again, another must-have, so I'll discuss that one too. This is the 35P palette. For me, this is a must-have, so I will discuss that one. This is the first Jaclyn Hill palette. You can't actually get this anymore. I'm going to briefly discuss it, but I will name the shadows in the description bar for ye. This is the 35K palette, again, another quite popular one, so I will discuss that one too. I've got the 35U palette. I think I've only ever swatched this one. I haven't used it that much. My sister might benefit a little bit from that one. I've got the 35S palette. This is the all shimmery palette of the equivalent 35O, so it came in an all matte and an all shimmer. Again, I haven't used this one either, so I won't discuss that one because I haven't used it. This one here is the 35D palette. Again, used to be popular, not really so much anymore, so I'm not going to discuss that one either. So I'm just going to stick with the ones that I think are the most popular, the ones I think you'd be most interested in. So I'm just going to start with the 35K palette. 35K palette is a much more cool tone palette. I actually have a full tutorial on this, which I will link down below. One of my favorite palettes, to be honest, because there is a tiny bit of warmth in it, which you get with like this shade here and these ones here, but then you also have the coolness of some of the silvers and blacks. But it's definitely more for those of you who are into your cooler shadows. The pigmentation of these is amazing. The black is a little bit patchy, I will say that much for it, but the rest of the shades are incredible. Like, you get these gorgeous silvery shades. Like, look at that one. It's a gorgeous kind of like steel gray with a bit of silver in it. Of this shade here is like blue metallic gray. Oh, it's so pretty. Gorgeous warmth from this palette. I just get those gorgeous browns as well. I just think the shades are incredible. So affordable, like a 23-24 euro, so you can't really be going wrong. So next palette I want to discuss with you is Jaclyn Hill's favorite palette. You can't get this palette anymore. These are all the shades that I believe Jaclyn went in herself and actually picked out which ones she loved and put them all into a palette together. So I don't think any of these were like manufactured for her or anything like that. And this was one of my favorite palettes back in the day. I loved this, especially all these shades here, these like lovely purple shades and just a little bit of green thrown in there. I like this shade here at the top. It's a nice shimmery creamy shade. It's amazing for highlighting. I also really liked this kind of orangey shade here. I just thought it was really unusual, but some of the other shades are not really groundbreaking. I have a video listing all of the shades in this, or a review on this anyway, so I will link that down below, but I'll write down all the shades that are in this palette just in case it was something you saw that maybe you wanted to pick up, and I think you can buy them in single form now. The next palette I have here is the 35P palette, and this palette is one of my all-time favorites from Morphe. You can see that I do quite like this. You can see like I've tapped into into it a bit. I've never done a tutorial with this because it's something that I like dip in and out of myself. I love these mauve shades in particular, and like this shade down here. I just think it is amazing if you want to create a purple eye. However, it doesn't offer you too much versatility outside of purple, obviously being the 35p. It's the purple palette, so that's kind of all you're going to be able to get or achieve is kind of like purple looks, but you can get a couple of neutral looks from this, like you can see here. And again, it has that like matte cream shade, which I adore because I can set my eyes with that, and then a little bit of a more shimmery shade for like underneath the brow if you don't want to go all matte. Some of the purples in this are incredibly pigmented and just beautiful. Like look at that shade there, it's just gorgeous. And the one beside it is matte. They're just incredibly pigmented. I love this shade here. It's like a mauvey dark purple, and then this shade here I use them as a transition a lot when I'm using this. So you can just see the shade range from this palette is just amazing, and the colors are just incredible. Like I said, if you're not really into your purpley shades, you may not want this palette, but for me this is definitely a must-have. I highly recommend it. I just think it's amazing. Pigmentation is incredible as per. Now these next three palettes are my favorite from Morphe and my must-haves for you guys. Like these are my most recommended palettes for you guys. First one I want to discuss is the 35O palette. This is what it looks like, and it is the orange palette, but I just think it is like a perfect warm tone palette. Like look at the shades in that. You just get so much versatility with it. If you love your warm shades, then this palette is the palette for you. I love this shade down here in the bottom. Like I love it so much I've actually broken it because it's been well loved. I love this shade here, orange down here, and then this shade here are like, oh, they're just so pretty. And again, the pigmentation is just incredible. Like look at those shades. If you're into your orange shadows or your warm shadows, then this palette is definitely going to be right up your alley. But it does throw in a little bit of coolness as well. You can kind of see a bit of cool hues in there, and it has a matte cream in it. The only thing this palette is missing is a black, in my opinion. It doesn't have any really deep shades, but it is an orange palette, so I don't really understand maybe if a black would even go in with this. The darkest shades that you have is this one here, which is a matte brown, and then this one down here, which is like a shimmery brown. So they're kind of like your only way to kind of deepen up any eye look. Honestly guys, you would not be going wrong with the 35O palette. You really can't. It's, if you're into your warm shades, it's just a dream. It's amazing. It blends out incredibly well. Pigmentation is just right up my alley, and I highly recommend. Okay, one of my favorite palettes from Morphe has to be the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. She came out with this during the summer. I'm not really sure of the exact date. It looks like this. I think everybody has seen this palette at some stage or another. It is incredibly beautiful. Jaclyn and Morphe did a fantastic job on this palette. I absolutely love this palette. I reach for it so regularly. It's one of my top palettes, top recommendations. I honestly can't stress how much I love this palette, and I think you guys will really like it as well. The only downside I have to this is the black shade in it is not as black, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the next palette and kind of just say why I think that this black is poor. So this black is like, it's fine. Like it's not like a really deep black, like you can see it there. I did an entire video dedicated to this, my review of it, swatching it, everything like that. I do think that some of these dark shades are a tad bit patchy. After that, the rest of the shades are incredible. And this blue here, oh my god guys, I die for it. Like look at it, it's like an electric blue. I haven't used this purple yet, but I need to do a tutorial with it. Like it's just gorgeous. This shade here, Pool Party, is one of my most worn shades, would you believe it, from this palette. And then my all-time favorite shade from this palette, which I think is a very weird one for me to pick, is this one here. I think it's called Jada or something. I'm not really sure, a forest green, but I absolutely adore this shade. Like I just think it is beautiful. It's a mix between a green and like there's a bit of teal in it. I don't know, it's just beautiful. If you're into warm shades, I think it is fantastic. I do wish though that these two shades up here weren't shimmery. Both of them have a bit of a sheen to them. One is more yellow, one is more neutral, which I kind of think, what's the point? I would prefer a matte cream in there, but that's just me being just really picky. Shimmer shades are fantastic. This like bright yellow, you just can't go wrong with it, to be honest. Like I love these shades here, the browns and the like orangey browns. I just think that they're gorgeous, and the pigmentation of all of them is super. There's actually like 10,000 reasons to buy this palette versus why not to buy it. If you don't have any shades like this, I highly recommend running out and getting it. It is just incredible. And I think you can get it on Beauty Bay now, and I think Ulta are getting it. The packaging sucks because look at your fingerprints are all over it. She brought out a new packaging that is more sleek. That's only exclusive to Ulta, so the rest of us have to do with this kind of like paper packaging that gets fingerprints all over it now. But it does kind of wipe down if I just put a bit more effort into it and cleaned it every now and again, but I just hate how grubby it does get. I think white was a bit of an error, but the product on the inside, which is what's most important, is amazing. This is the 3502 palette. I've done a comparison of the 3500, the original, and the 3502. I'm wearing the 3502 today. I absolutely adore this. I think this is the best eyeshadow palette they've come out with to date. I am obsessed. I think this is one of their best formulated palettes to date. I think the shades and the pigmentation in this are just perfection. The only issue I have with it is there's no matte cream shade in it, and I talked about that in the other video. I talked about that in my monthly favorites. I've talked about that umpteen amount of time. Don't get why they never put a highlight shade in it or a matte shade for underneath the brow bone or something, or just setting your eyelid. It is one of the things that I miss so much from this palette that I'm gonna have to depot one of the similar shades and put a cream shadow in there, because I can't bring this traveling. I have to bring one other eyeshadow with me, and it's the only thing that disappoints me. Black in this is incredible. Like, that is black, okay? So I'm going to compare it to the Jaclyn Hill one, and then the one from the 3502 palette. Like, that's it there, 3502, that's Jaclyn Hill. Definitely could have done a better job with the Jaclyn Hill formulating the black shadow. I know black shadows are difficult to formulate. They did it with this palette, so I don't understand why it's not the same with the Jaclyn Hill one. Now, I have heard that this black eyeshadow, which is called Wiz, I think, is it called Wiz? You get like a leaflet now with all the names on it. So yeah, it's called Wiz. I have heard that it's been crumbling on some people when they've received it in the mail. Mine obviously was fully intact and was packaged really well. So it's obviously like a packaging error, maybe a formula error. I'm not really sure. I can't say enough good things about this eyeshadow palette. I just think it's incredible. I just think everything about this eyeshadow palette is amazing. I love these orangey shades. I just think they're incredible. I love these kind of brownie, I don't know what to call them. There's like a brownie red shade and like the bright red. Oh my god, like I die. The pigmentation is just insane in this. I absolutely love it. Okay guys, so that's like my little mini review or kind of discussion of my Morphe palettes, my collection, which ones I recommend to you guys, which ones I would kind of skip out on. I did give away a few of my Morphe palettes, so this isn't like everything that I've ever owned from Morphe. These are just the ones that I really enjoy and really like and have hung on to. Some of the ones that I don't use as frequently, I'll probably like declutter or something at some stage. Thought I'd give you a little bit of an insight into the palettes and what I think of them and which ones are my favorites and which ones are my least favorites. So I hope that this video was informative to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to all of you guys in my next video. I love you all. Mwah. Bye.